March 9, 2023. March 9, 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful day again. You know, tell God thank you for life. You know, God has been good to we. Allah has been great. You know, it see we through with trials and tribulations, the difficulties. And today is another day. You know, we want to say, you know, a lot of families them. Some man go sleep. Some man grab this morning. Some families them. Then they mourn their loved ones them. We go last night and see them this morning, another day again. That is the life how they live. One day after the other. You know, so one for tell God thank you for we were there alive. Where they listen to this message. We get opportunity for change. You know, make a better change that this dunya where they live for. Make a change that this world. Because you impact all. Now, whose effect yourself bring at this dunya? You make change for the good or you make a change for the bad? We get for affect generations here unborn. Those are the questions you have to ask yourself. Every decision where you make, who do I get for benefit? You know, I go benefit people in the future. But some people, you know, today we get, of course, we brother with the chair above the African Express. You know, this man, you know, so call him the B-52 bomber. But unfortunately, we get an opposition we're able for use in materials them very effectively at a time like this in this 21st century with the level of corruption and malfeasance what we see in this present administration of this government. You know, but they like today, Salon people them know the role we don't play that with democracy for over 20 plus years. You know, so we can discuss today, we can give an overview. When I know say the last time we get with brother, of course, you know, nobody don't pass the PR using the judiciary and all of these things. You know, you know, a lot of things don't pass. The bad laws then a parliament. When I remember the last time we came, we talk about for food the parliament na Luma. When I go watch the parliament, when I remember we say for calling members of parliament, we have a civic responsibility of citizens. Members of parliament should be accessible. They won't forget office number. They wait for him for call. Talk to their staff. Talk to them as a members of parliament. Let them know exactly how I feel. We brother the African Express cab, we put it in a Luma, we put it in a market. So come on, they want to sell the country. I can't look. You know, so from that time, they don't say we not bring and come. So we don't come today. They can paint a picture, you know, of what's happening over the past few months. We don't say we're not here. And then we can discuss some of these issues. We know say they talk another down and time not go enough, but we could go and try as much as we could. You know, of course, and Comrade is with me, Cashbox there with me now, so we can deliberate on this issue also today again. Now talk about these things. So, Brother Cheroba, you know, welcome. Just tell family Aru real quick, and I will bring in Comrade and Kashi. Tell family Aru real quick.
You don't tell the family the dates today.
Oh!
You get carried away. Then.
Oh my goodness! March 9th, 2023, Kashi. March 9th. Unabia we. Let's see. We don't go 2 minutes 45 seconds. 2 minutes 45 seconds. March 9, 2023. March 9, 2023. And he gets 107 days left to elections. 107 days left to elections. So yes, thank you, Kashi. And the one thing this way Kashi interjects where I appreciate. Thank you. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful interjection. You don't know, Kashi. You don't know. But anyways, thank you, Kashi. Appreciate that. But yeah, Channel, tell family real quick, Channel. Tell family real quick.
Yes. Thank you very much to all of you again for bringing me at this wonderful platform. It's been a long time before we come here, but I just want to commend our dedication and commitment to this cause. The fact that we wake up every morning and every day, apart from the single audios, we always collaborate and come together and add voice to the many issues that happen. It's a very commendable effort, no matter how we talk about them. People could disagree with you at this stage, but the fact of the matter is, you guys have been standing on the right side of history. So that's the most important thing. And if you remember a few weeks back or months back, we've been talking, the truth does not require a crowd to be told. Because in the final analysis, the truth gets power on its own. And so far, history don't prove, say, our positions them on the correct side of history. And, you know, it's few more days now for we close this chapter of the country's dramatic development over the last 5 years. So thank you. And I tell Fambule Madu.
Absolutely. Thank you, my brother. You know, Comrade Koita, a lot of things don't pass. 270,000 names deleted from the voter register. We don't talk. You know, yesterday, my brother, we commemorate the International Women's Day, Kashi and Comrade. We'll now rub more small panande, and then we'll take it from there. Comrade, you can come in.
Okay. Go.
Yeah, you know, Ibrahim, you know, this March month and a woman the month, because it's not too far ago, we can get the Mother's Day, you know. We could always talk, say, God is for make month a man, God not make mistake for make woman close to it. They not make mistake for say, who for human that respect. They not even make mistake again, a man force to make woman the population, beaucoup pass we, all not by your mistake. You do, I'm going to the mistake. Ibrahim, you know, all of the talk now. And like quoting, I remember we host African Express for the first day. Tell we say, we they care the business on a lumor. Where you get shop. So until the day is the business they sell, they pull the market now do so that people they can see and follow them back. Now salo the bread and a lumor. This 2023 a lumor they care the country, don't care the country to the people. They let them know who that they sell this country and who that they get for seller, whatever get for happy, not like 1965. We be happy we remember 65 today. Now after the war, we don't cut full their hand. The number house a rape woman and now can realize say, oh, that 1965 parliament. Then I discuss this time around, all man they see the angle or they bring a kind of lumo.
Absolutely. Kashi, well, you know, say, you know, your mama not did like it today. You know, International Women's Day, and I know you struggle. I know say if I left you for talk about that no more alone, but I already done this audio. But talk to we. International Women's Day. You remember your mama small. Talk to we.
No, absolutely. You see, Ibrahim, it's about time. You know, we need for sure respect to women. And I can always say, you know, I always believe in associating like cultures to everything that I say or do. You know, you know, it's easy, Ibrahim, for make like based on whose side we come out, you know, the way of life, the way we don't used to, you know, for make like, you know, we not even they see them like I say, even when we disrespect women, we not even they see them like I say, we disrespect them. It's easy for them to fall into that trap. But you see, Ibrahim, it is about time. Yesterday, now we make mention of like a research way, like economists they do where they say, like, you know, getting women like leadership roles and stuff like that, you know. And in fact, not only research, like during the COVID, they actually tell we say, you know, say like it go for over every almost month in New Zealand, where they gets like the prime minister, when a woman, you know, like the other lady, you know, Ibrahim. New Zealand was the only country where the month where they not actually get one COVID case until like towards the end of like. But anyway, what the other guy was saying, during the COVID time, most countries that when we get women leadership, they manage them really well. Like for instance, Germany, New Zealand, the Barbados, they managed it very well. This was like on record, Ibrahim.
Absolutely.
You know. Again, the point about like yesterday, the research where they show, they say getting women to leadership around the world and like corporate system could bring about $7 trillion. They bring additional $7 trillion in the world's economy. Now the world economy, Ibrahim. It means it's about time we need for kind of like embrace women and don't say they get a lot for bring to society. As I say earlier, it can easily, because of the mindset, the culture we get and all that in Africa, which like they change drastically, Ibrahim, from make we like disrespect women without noticing it or knowing that we're actually disrespecting them.
Absolutely. You know, because for me yesterday, we for dedicated to Satalamin that was gang raped by 7 men. Not the government, not even the parliament will get a responsibility for stand up in situations like those. Now, this part of the world war day, the Repuma like Dandy, a member of parliament before taking and can I go to the well of parliament to say this woman was raped because of a political party affiliation. People like Satalamin, there's a lot of them in Sierra Leone. So for the Allah International Women's Day, but nobody has been taking actions, meaningful actions for protecting women in that country. That is where we are as Sierra Leoneans. Brother Shenoba, you want for just shed light on that International Women's Day, and I know so yourself gets a lot of values and respect for women. Them you want to talk on that a small short one number, and then we go inside with topic proper.
No, of course, a very important question, and at this point in the history of the world, in the history of our own countries alone, we're not for the debate the role and place of women in national affairs. If you check from make we say in the last elections in 2018, 85% or 87% of the people that were registered, they were between the ages of 18 to 37, and majority of them of the registered voters, more than half of that population, were basically women. We register for vote. That are just example. Apart from the national statistics, where they tell you say we population is over 52% or over 54% women. You don't. So when you get the majority of the population excluded or marginalized from governance, from decision-making processes, from administrative positions, in all aspects, in economic life, in social life, in political life and cultural affairs, you find out say the country really they be. So it's an indictment. So for a few weeks ago they may talk about the passage of a gender bill,
right?
A gender law. We now instruct government and the component organizations in the country for taking into consideration the inclusion, the compulsory inclusion of women in leadership positions. So I not think say it should be a debate anymore. Where is the role and place of women in national affairs? The mere fact that the eclectic parliament who we get right now decide for use that as one of the signposts for saying don't make a progress, and one of the progressive things that we then think say then do. For clearly shows say we society still to grapple with the question of how far and how much and how long we don't marginalize with women in society. So, but no country they advance any sign of the world, both historically and in the present, without the recognition of the role and place of women. We have to have the feminine attribute of our society at the forefront,
absolutely,
of national development, in all aspects. So I think say if we disagree on anything or we get to agree on anything, that's one important question where the whole world can unite around, that women have been marginalized, they've been excluded, they've been rendered in the backstage of national affairs and global affairs, and the world they think about now not only for repair that historic injustice, but for also show effectively that the world's supposed to move towards that direction. So for me, I think we get to see leaders act on that, not just statements, but actually acting on the implementation of that particular for correct that particular historical injustice. It's an injustice.
Absolutely. Brother Chinoba mentioned something where he say feminine attributes. What do they mean? Basically, Salon people so brother and a big scholar. So feminine attributes just means say that Komra mentality, that Komra heart inside with political affairs, they will bring and come in. That's what we brother they talk about. But Salon people let's go to our topic proper. Brother Chinoba, it's been a long time we'll not get you back. People in the ask, hey, una bring me brother China, una bring me brother. Why you what you get for say? Una no say this, me brother. So now in the help in this country here for expose the kind of corruption, the lackadaisical attitude and laziness of leaders in both in parliament and in governance and civil society activists, journalists, their role. Everybody don't fail. We not say we brother China, but now we listen to now why you what you get for say, brother China. Give me an overview from where you don't go, where will not bring you come. But good thing don't happen. Talk to me, brother. You get the floor. Open them.
Yeah, we just go for take last year by this time, now we begin look at Parliament. Come to we notice, when I know say when we start for publish corruption about murder bill in administration, we just focus on the executive branch of government. We will just look at the president, the office of the president. Now we focus on as the fountain of honor, as the most important office in the country. We not only show say the president will be announced say he committed or promised he will fight corruption, he will reduce waste in public spending. That na lie, you don't like it. Because we show say he actively they in an organized effort for loot the country, that like actually loot the national treasury. We show the patterns and the methods and the techniques with Mada Bio and the other senior leaders of the government, including the wife of the president, the first lady, how did they loot the money. And before that 10 day, this was first and foremost in January 2021. Now we show concrete evidence, bank statements, receipt numbers, transaction. Up to this point, no public official in Sierra Leone has been able to show that the Africanist Press publication on Mada Bio, if we talk say Mada Bio don't take 1 Leone, till now, we don't challenge them. We don't challenge them in America, we don't challenge them in England, all over the world. Say, if anybody believes, say, one sentence there, what we write, we're not to correct it, make it come forward and show we bringing evidence. Up to now, the none, including even the members of parliament, some of the APC members of parliament, including Lahai Mara, for example, will come out say one different Mada Bio. Yeah. They don't get any evidence for deny which we don't publish since 2018 to now. But most especially by 2021, we begin show bank statement after bank statement, transaction detail after transaction detail, document after document, which in government will have for begin to harass bank officials there, civil servants there. We they talk over 170 civil servants have been dismissed. Parliament know this. Even as they talk so right now, they harass people at the Central Bank of Sierra Leone for the last 4 weeks. So we published the last article where we talk say Mada Bio in 2022 alone, they use over 70 billion per diem. Other expenditure, this is not per diem, no more pocket money. We in where they take jointly in 1 year over 70 billion. Yes, that are over in real sense over $8 million. Now we talk about
$8 million.
Just in per diem pocket money, it don't include flight ticket, it don't include the charter plane, it don't include the hotel fees. And this other allegation, we show the transaction, we show the documents up to now. If I want to do, then go bring polygraph machine where they can test. Wouldn't at the Bank of Salon they where they give information. As I tell you, there are people in the Bank of Salon who have been falsely accused, who've been suspended, who've been harassed. So then they can't go to CID. Who are members of parliament, the people and journalists and other people, they know they are keeping this secret in the country. So I just want to start and for say I don't want for repeat story after story, line after line, what we don't publish. Everybody in a salon, they know what we don't do, including today, if Mada Bio take plane, they go. Ordinary citizens able to use the information we not do to calculate how much the president don't take. Yeah. Now we first show in concrete terms where Fatima Bio been they deny say not they receive government money. We don't talk say they receive. We show exactly up to now with the show. Instead, the people who they defend Fatima Bio, some of them are APC members, former ministers, parliamentarians, active executive members of the APC in the past. Now then still they defend Mada Bio and Fatima Bio in corruption. In fact, they not only defend her, then they advise how Mada Bio and the anti-corruption for arrest APC people for corruption who we don't write. For example, when we say Fatima Bio they receive money, that the APC people they advise, some of them they advise, when they work with Mada Bio, they advise Francis Ben Kelfala for say, go start 1900 and say all the APC people there, where APC first ladies, them they don't thief money before. When we talk about chief minister, when they don't say no chief minister, no they, that the country, they not investigate that one, they set more. Because they go advise who type of go start. We'll talk about foreign affairs, then say, okay, we'll go hold Samura Kamara, and then I'll be foreign affairs minister. So, and this now, that Senegal, if I tell you now, say, when we publish the foreign affairs story, a former ACC commissioner, where they, in fact, with 3 other people, they sat down in Dakar. We then receive the story, which we intel like that, then celebrate, then drink tea, and go over and kill them, because They say they don't get story for hand pass Samura in head. That's how they advise anti-corruption commission say go start 2011 and say that Samura. So they are talking about what happened under APC. They are not talking about the $5 million evidence we publish up to today. So I don't want to repeat that story because we know that. What I just want to say that last year, March, exactly why they say March, because March na the time I was born on March 28th. So March is always an important month to me.
Beautiful.
Because I'm a birthday month. So March last year, while I been observe certain weeks I can relax and reflect when March they come, I don't can do much if you remember.
Absolutely.
If you observe the pattern.
Yeah.
I can take leave. So like right now, I know the write nothing, I know the post, I know the publish because it's a month of reflection for me.
Absolutely.
I reflect on what I don't do the last year and what I plan for do the next year. So last year around this time, I was also silent and the watch. Now around this time, March 2022, that they occurred to me say, Mother Bill and Parliament, they discuss the law officers department and members of Parliament, so people they try for bring law, then they make law, then they draft the law then. So that's how they will know them. They try for change the election law. That's how they will know them. They try for change the political parties law. That's how they will know them. They try for also make a central intelligence, national security and central intelligence law. All them law there, yeah. Now laws the way they violate people and rights for vote, people and right for join political party and for associate and for give PPRC more power for the register and violate and disorganize political parties. Yeah. Now, law the way they bring PR and all them here. So we begin to get this information. We begin watch. Then a March. By April, the law officers department don't draft the bill. They don't even print it. If you look, where you go look at the document for the Public Elections Bill, Public Elections Act 2022, the bill, where you look at the document, you find out say then printer April 2022. Right. And also the Political Parties Act inside and printer around April 2022. All the other laws then, we look all around April, May, and then print all the documents. So by March, this discussion will go on privately among themselves. Some APC lawyers even receive copies of the drafts before even they can go to Parliament. Some of the lawyers then we get to know. They know themselves why they talk so. So, and these are people that are lawyers working with the parliamentary leaders, the Parliament, the opposition leaders in the Parliament will be aware, say this legislation will come. If you remember, around this time last year again, March, April, so much distraction may happen. Some of are even orchestrated by Parliament and the parliamentary wing of the party. That around that time, they may say they protest for census, they may make all that thing there for people that pretend say they were doing action. So we watch this thing. By June, now they obviously Parliament begin the pre-legislative conversation on the bill. This now around June 20 or so. But the bill be done today, and around that 10 days now, Mother Bill be not left the country. They have demonstration will be happening. So while people they focus on the police, they provoke, they laugh and provoke the former IG. They talk to the man who sabi talk English. The man fiba some kind of chimpanzee. They basically take the public attention for focus on those dramatic things the way they happen regarding police brutality. Parliamentarians, they sit down. They talk about now how to pass this law secretly. So around that time, if I remember, now it will highlight the fact say members of Parliament don't begin discuss a law. We be them bring that law. It will prevent people from vote, and because the law they can impose, make a mandatory say you're not going to register for vote if you don't get NIN, and we'll talk about the changes in the constitutional instrument, sections of the constitution where they give more power to NEC, to ECSL, where they give more power to political parties. We highlight them here. In fact, that from that point in June, that the Parliament begin make war against African express. At that 10 day, you find out say. Lahai Mara, in no be herself, he come on and do I post on a Facebook page say, what will the right about corruption against Mother Bill all a lie? Because don't begin highlight the Parliament on the in cahoot with Mother Bill. They try for pass law where they make sure the people in our western area, people in the north, then put Loco, Lonsar, all the areas that they take go Mashimbi Makaliusa and think say people and they way they support the opposition go likely vote against Mother Bill, make them not able for register smoothly, make them not able for vote. And when I know now the drama will happen. Absolutely. So from June 2022, una platform devote almost 80% of una time. We self we devote 80% Africanist press, 80% to 90% of the time focusing on parliament, focusing on voter education, public, what you call civic education, voter education, how people have to register, how to protect people have to register, how to highlight effort of parliament, effort of all the institutions there.
Right.
From NCRA to police to judiciary to all the institutions of the country, how do they try for marginalize and violate and suppress with democratic space? We introduce word like voter suppression, all that in and the candidate exclusion.
Right.
All that here. So now we talk voter suppression, everybody knows what it means in the country now. This now, the collaborative work we do together from Africanist Press to our platform and we effort for whole parliament, even to the extent parliamentarians, they talk to the young APC supporters and not share. Africanist Press will not share any audio whether they make it. They know they wage war to every platform they go, including the social media platform they begin avoid with. But for underlying the thing, now we don't come 12 months later. If we look 1 year later, we should be very proud of the work that we have done. One, now we expose the fact say parliamentarians they want pass dangerous law and they actually pass it. Now we tell the people and say this law will parliamentarian they deny say they pass, then they pass it. If they pass it, go for suppress una. We highlight them here. We talk about looking at atrocities. We call on parliament for common and do for defend people. They never did. In fact, they attack we. They begin saying a lie with a lie. Where registration can they all hide under bed. Now we have been the highlight, take video they highlight. In fact, what they do now, they spread fake information again to make sure say any information we will publish make people not listen to that. To the extent that some of them even make fake document and they send that to we for more publish fake. So they go say we're in a lie with a lie. We get them. Some of them people there, active APC members, lawyers, people who will vie for even recent executive positions, now the APC and other political parties. We talk, say, the parliamentary leaders in the parliament, from the NGC to the APC to the C4C, they don't collaborate with Madabi. What did not happen? NGC, they don't scatter them party force. The leader, then Sidon, Kande Yumkela, and Dennis Bright, they all say they don't scatter. All man resign. They don't want to contest the election. Emerson Lamina, what you do, then they are going to EU, now they want to go beat the EU. He said that for drive Mula na the country. Mula na possibly bring crisis. Jericho Koyo na see balance na ECOWAS. So they tell you they need them for talk about the atrocities, the human rights violation. Instead, they write a report written for show Saloon saying a very credible government, like a very human rights. And that's what they do. These people even when they convince the IMF, the World Bank, and other people and say the corruption we will right na like corruption and normal government expenditure. They say will not show corruption. So all of these ratings they see because Parliament was behind the scenes. The opposition leaders were behind the scenes lobbying for the government, talking for the government, providing good sanitary reports, sanitize the government in UNICEF, apart from them paying media, both in the country and outside of the country for make a public image laundering campaign locally, internationally for defend Madabiu, for keep Madabiu, so that because we show say Madabiu corrupt, it prevent their own agenda. What was their agenda? They wanted everybody who was their opponent within their parties and outside of their parties to make them accused of corruption. So Madabiu will get the moral ground for use corruption as the trump card for marginalized opposition. To go after any opposition politician we not like. So we able to expose that facade, the work of the Africanist Press together with people that will collaborate and assist for spread the message, including the relentless effort we make. A wonderful thing because we're able to say, even in a country that has been dominated by rogue politicians, corrupt social networks, where the media, the professional class, whether they are lawyers, bankers, business people, politicians, parliamentarians, academics, they all gang up together for deceive a country. A group of dedicated few men and women who are dedicated can hold them and expose them and make it difficult for them to thrive. Succeed in that agenda. And that will succeed for do.
I want to ask you a question quickly. I mean, everything that you're saying, I can see the frustration. And I think behind your back, I've always said, I feel sorry for you for the fact that with all your revelations there, it's like I say, the one that went for act upon them, not actually they do anything about it. I will ask you two questions, and you can kind of just join them together. One, what's not be the reason, for me you expose all them in there? Of course, because it's a very basic question. And secondly, how do you feel When with everything that you've exposed, it's like I say, it's just out there, just to make the public don't say, oh, China don't expose them, but no action. That's it they don't do about it. How do you feel about that?
No, I think a very important question that you asked. Number one, Abeka talks say for still we did below 25% of the evidence of murder bill and the political class, then corruption in the last 4 years. We not expose everything in it because it's overwhelming evidence on your part. I don't do journalism, at least. The African Express alone don't exist for over 20 years now, because 2002 now we start.
Right.
But for answer your question, we decide for do this kind of work because we find out say at the time when we intervene, everybody been see Mother Bill say serious about fighting corruption.
Right.
And we deceive the whole world, say Mother Bill was committed to fighting corruption. So we investigate whether these things are true, and we find out say no, not lie. So we want to show exactly, and we decide say not for just challenging, but for show. So this is a surgical approach. It's a situation where the patient sick, get disease all over inside in belly. They deny say you don't get sickness. Then you force them. You can't go to the theater. You force an operation and so say, look, your intestines. You got the all rotting. Look at. So you don't go to deny. So basically, we not surprised that the government was unable to recognize the validity of the thing because, of course, when they show the president say, not only hypocritical, but he's the champion and the commander of the loot will take place in the country. You should say the president in wealth involved. You should say the chief minister, when the president in key, possibly in university professor, I mean the supervisor. You should say JJ Safari, the minister of finance, they are just a loot and facilitate. You don't expect them one and they for go hold themselves because we have a small minister. Basically, we kind of work now for show Madam you say, okay, if you want to fight corruption, make we show you inside the corruption day, face to face. So it's an unprecedented kind of work. There is no way Madam is going to hold himself responsible, arresting WEF and sacking WEF or do so. So what we are saying is that the work we don't do is for posterity. Any future government coming forward will have to be judged on how they deal with this massive evidence of corruption as it is now. Why Parliament not take action as the opposition? Now, because they are complicit. The COI, just look at the COI. What are the name that they are the COI? You know, involve the parliamentary leadership. So that tell you say the facade, the hypocrisy of Madabio in corruption now be one exposed. He was not fighting corruption. He was using corruption as a license, as a cover for go after anybody in the previous government with not the support in agenda for remain in power and dinner power. Any APC politician or anybody that work at the past government will support Madabio, they're not the accused of corruption. Alpha Kanu, an example. Victor Foden, an example. So Cherry Coco, they're not accused. If you talk about corruption, you cannot leave Parliament. If the COI, the Commission for Inquiry, have a serious investigation, they would start with Parliament. Would that have been the Parliamentary? All the mining agreements, everything will happen under APC, went through Parliament, the mining agreements, all of it when they talk about. So if they actually want for start, you cannot leave the parliamentary leaders in those times. There is nowhere in the Commission for Inquiry, nowhere in the corruption of the last 10 years that Madabio claimed he was fighting, where Cherry Coco was the subject of an investigation. So if that is the case, he not go take on anything, because taking on the massive evidence will say definitely he will come face to face with Madabio. You know,
and just a quick one, Cherry Coco was the head of the
the transparency committees and all, several committees. Not only that, he was deputy speaker of Parliament.
Yes.
On the eve of the elections, we then passed some of the most dangerous agreements regarding mining and stuff like that. Everybody knows this, but none of this is the subject of any of the Commission of Inquiry. The question is why. What is their role? What are the bargain? What are the agreement? What are the relationship between the parliamentary wing of the party to Madabio? We've talked about this. We're not going to repeat it. Now, whether they accept them or they reject them, but the fact of the matter is right there. And that this make Parliament, target we. That this make Lahai Mara then target we. That this make Lahai Mara and they're under the leadership of Cherry Coco. Then they're under the leadership of the APC in Parliament. At the time we would expose this by last year around this time, by April, when they moved March, April, Fisher don't dismantle the entire APC executive. Who are they hand to the parliamentary wing of the party? So they were the leaders of the party. Then they would take on these questions, because taking on these questions will also mean their own strategy and their agenda for take over the national leadership of the party, for hijack them party, this corruption, we might have before you say, okay, everybody get case. Up to now they talk and they say, I don't hear the APC people talk say they for go back to the convention because they not sure say Samura Kabara are the good nominator.
So do you feel disheartened, like
No,
thinking that with
I don't
all
feel,
you've done,
no, I don't feel,
or you kind of like say can be used in the future at any time?
My job here as a journalist is to provide information,
absolutely,
provide correct information. The public has the responsibility to decide what they want to do with that information.
Absolutely.
For voters, they have to choose whether it's upon them to choose whether they want to continue with Mother Bill or the foreign political leaders. For political parties, it's upon them. My role is always, you don't go across regimes. Right? During Tijan Kaba time, we would write, they say, we're APC. Where APC come with it, right? They say, we're SLPP. So, for me, my work will continue regardless of who is in power.
Yeah.
So what the government and the society decide to do with the information that we provide is upon them. But me, I'm here.
Sorry, Chanoba. Hold on your thoughts, Chanoba. I got disconnected now. Somebody call me.
If I have to do this 20 times more, I will do it over and over. You don't understand? Because in the final analysis, but I know no more say the work we don't do, it don't get tremendous impact. If you see Mother Bill, they never organize free and fair election. They don't want to organize election. If you see opposition politicians, they talk say Mother Bill for go unopposed. Now, because the way we don't expose them, they cannot face the people on a clean slate. The people that the work we don't do, the work we all don't do, it not go in vain. The fact of the matter that every corner of Sierra Leone where you go, when I audio and ZD, messages about republication and DD, everybody knows say Fatima Bio don't receive money illegally. Everybody knows say Mother Bio they travel like they carry money, they bring her back hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. They know this. They know. People in the small underground artists and they sing music. They talk about Mother Bio, Natif Man, Fatima Bio, and they lie, all that. So they know, and they also know who that then are the politicians who don't represent the interest. So these conversations are not going away. In the past, people have not been getting away for talk about this. Remember, say these messages that we spread, so they're not passed through 98.10, they're not passed through AYV, they're not passed through any radio station Africa or newspaper, not through independent media processes, what you call new media, audios, Facebook, Twitter, and different kinds of tools and platforms where we use for express and talk to the people of Sierra Leone. We will break down the boundaries of dictatorship because according to the politicians and their allies in the opposition, nobody know for interview we. Then feel say by so doing, then go dismiss what they do. But no, we don't go to the point with all the radio stations and get the Minister of Information begin also the whole Zoom. The same thing they do. Begin the whole Thursday discussion, the same thing they do. They copy what they do on Facebook because then they cannot compete. Now the impact of we work is real. It's real. It's right there. It's right in front of our face.
Guys, hold on. Somebody call me. Hold on. Interrupted now.
But changing a society takes time. It takes time. Yeah.
No, sorry. I was just to say somebody they call me. We disrupt the call. So yeah, but go ahead. It's good now.
Changing a society takes time. It goes across period. So we not feel say the work they do, the creative is right there. In fact, they sack with and sack Lara, suspend Lara, sack them bank workers, and they arrest people, then they go and change law, then they hire cyber intelligence companies, they hire, but they bring polygraph machine, they test people, who they talk to Africans, who they talk to, who they pass information. So all of these are the impact. They know come on and do back and talk, say, hey, no, the two they do so the money will. They will be ashamed to say that. So we for double the effort more and more. The more we say this, double the effort. It's not going to go in vain. This election is a test case too. So I just want I don't know. I don't spend more time for answer that question in the cash box. But what I want to say, the fact that we not going to repeat what we don't talk about. As an overview, last year by this time we call on people then for pay attention to Parliament. They did. Now everybody knows that the current parliament, not only fail for act on the question, on the evidence of corruption, then fail for represent the people then on issues where matter. They help the government for pass all the dangerous agreements and laws then at the country, including the airport who they talk about so now. You don't understand? All of them here, the parliament is complicit in all of the corruption, all of the bad legislation in the climate of repression will take place in the country. They never stood up to defend in the real sense the rights of Sierra Leoneans, the democracy, the constitutional sanctity of the country. They're not doing. In fact,
what did they do? They help Mother before pass more dangerous laws there, including the cyber legislation, the central intelligence law, where they allow police there now for do sting operation on people there. Of course, the public elections law, we introduced NIN and proportional representation. All of these Parliament collaborated with it, regardless.
Absolutely.
So this is not to mention the banking laws that were passed for introduce two currency in the country. Will get 80 days to go on. We don't talk about all entire. But the good thing here is that after 1 month now, by the end of April, these parliamentarians or committees, they will be ordinary citizens. If they are ordinary citizens now, they will lose that privilege. The money will be they pay them for making a representative. They will lose that position. Now, only if the political parties think say they owe their responsibility and go back in the parliament, I go put some of them. For example, after the end of April, the parliamentary leader of the APC will be an ordinary member of the APC. Because right now, hold no executive position. So, and as far as we're concerned, now moving forward, the APC don't constitute a new executive. So they have the responsibility for correct all of these lack of leadership, the infractions of their parliamentary wing of the party, which was given the mandate by the courts of Sierra Leone for superintend the party after the dismantling of the party done by the illegal George Fisher, that Parliament actually approved. So all of them.
Just before you go to the responsibility of the APC being like, that they formed the executive. I mean, you said something in the background. What would you think? What do you think would be the legacy of these parliamentarians?
Yeah, very important question. I think that Andy. What do you go for? Remember this fifth Parliament for? Huh? Yeah. Apart from say they not only act on the African Express evidence of corruption. Now the fact that this Parliament responsible for pass one of the most dangerous public elections law with this enfranchise. The EU supporters and SSF, the inclusion of the NI in the Public Elections Act of 2022 not get any objective other than for give Madabio a competitive advantage in the upcoming elections. How? By making registration and the participation of citizens who are qualified to vote so difficult and tedious. Simplify the voting process, become complex. Now you have to have a national identification number to be registered, which at the time the NCRA was not even staffed enough, not even equipped enough for meet the needs of Sierra Leoneans in terms of registering them to vote. They include NCRA in the registration process, which was not required by law. That's one thing we will go remember them for. The fact that Parliament collaborated with the executive branch of government for pass an election law on the eve of the upcoming election, for make sure the citizens who want to exercise the franchise will find it difficult. It could be like war for make people register. And up to now, we are talking about over 270,000, more than 250,000 voters who have been, whose fate is uncertain, who risk being removed from the national register. Parliament has not done anything about it. The fact that procurement money meant for the procurement of election materials, over $10 million, was misappropriated, cannot be accounted for by the ECSL, the theft of public election funds. Parliament remains silent on it. They not talk about that. And all of the registration anomalies and difficulties and illegalities which surround the registration of voters, Parliament remains silent. That's the one thing where people are going to remember them for forever. Say this fifth Parliament, they not only fail for act and hold the government on the question of accountability and transparency, they also help Mother Bureau for empower and gear more dangerous laws there and help for create election laws that will give Mother Bureau an advantage in the next election. Now we dip and fight against that. Not the members of Parliament. In fact, they insult we because we raise this question. Even now as we talk, most of them will begin to say we hate them. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we will remember this Parliament for being the Parliament we approve the worst governor in the history of the banking system na Salon, Kelfala Kalon. was approved by PAL, even though before, 1 month before the can tell Global Times, they say we can with economic policies, fiscal policies, we could chase the opposition, we could target the opposition, and whatever money they had supposedly looted from the banks, they are holding it. And Parliament approved him without question. They didn't only approve him, they gave him the legal instrument to introduce a currency we don't feel, we don't shatter and turn with national currency into worthless paper. Now we have two currencies running concurrently in Sierra Leone for more than a year. The Parliament has not done anything about it. We will remember this Parliament for failing to protect the independence of the transparency, internal transparency mechanism, then dismiss Lara Telopias for over a year. Parliament has not done anything. They can correct it. Then Parliament has allowed the country to exist for more than a year without an audit service. Because when the audit service has no legally appointed, approved, and qualified Auditor General, it means we have no audit system. So that's what we have. Abdul Aziz is not qualified to superintend the government audit. Parliament is even promoting Parliamentary and then the Guide and young journalists and the fake 2021 audit report for made them serialize on a newspaper. And they actually pay newspapers to do that because they want to give credibility to Abdul Aziz and the audit service after the wrongful suspension and dismissal of Lara Telopias. The court cannot even address the matter. They are unable to proceed with her. And in actual fact, they advised Madabio to do that because they think saying that the only way they go able to protect themselves from their lack of action, their inaction to hold the government accountable, especially when evidence of corruption in real time is being published by an independent media organization like the African Express. So, with memory of this Parliament, cannot go away from this question. Their failure to protect the Constitution, their failure to protect the democracy, their failure to protect the public funds of Sierra Leone from being looted. And they justify her. These are things. Now, talk about the human rights violations. Talk about August 10. Talk about the mass killings. Talk about all of this. Talk about the state of the current country. Talk about the census, where we have a situation where all of these institutions. So the actual state capture itself is what we're talking about. We cannot. It's not Madabio that captured this institution. It's the rogue politicians in Parliament and their allies outside of Parliament who have built a system over 10 years that they don't staff, they don't infiltrate the system and hold them hostage, including from the police department, all of these institutions that we're talking about. So they are actually a parallel government in the country. Now, what we call state bifurcation, where the presidency and what we see are like some kind of mirage, and these operatives, rogue policy, are hiding underneath. So we're able to see this through the actions of Parliament. So I think the history therefore be very harsh with these people. After that's their legacy, and they did this on purpose. They do it purposely, deliberately, and then they thought about it and they acted on this. And up to now, they don't give up. Because
when you say they do it deliberately, don't you think somebody somewhere, like the layman out there would be like, well, they were beaten, they were bulldozed, because that's their excuse. If parliamentarians don't say we're not going to Parliament until this is addressed, they definitely might have been forget no choice if do it. But whenever I come for approve all of the appropriation bills, for approve government's right for spend money, Parliament no they ever argue, no they fight, no they bulldoze them. They don't ever do. In fact, June last year, what they talk so June last year, which is the time we said they don't approve the budget after we then sack Lara Telopias. Towards the end of 2021, Parliament approved the public expenditure,
supplementary.
The budget for the supplement. No, first they approve a standard, then later 6 months. 6 months when even MDAs have not received their second allocations. Parliament approved a supplementary expenditure, supplementary budget, with no argument. These are June, the same June where parliamentarians they talk say they debate the law for past the Parliament. They do that. Even after that, Fisher is now known as the judge in Sierra Leone who has dismantled almost every political party. who you call Fisher, his name is synonymous with anti-democratic practices, the erosion of democratic values. APC parliamentarian, they approved Fisher as a judge. After we dismantled APC, look now, you have even the C4C has been disorganized under Fisher's ruling. Now, into all of the other, in addition to all of the other prosecutions, including Comrade Koita here, talk about how he was prosecuted by Fisher on wrong allegations. Now, the same Fisher go to Parliament was approved, not only approved, the parliamentary leader of the APC not only commend the Fisher during the process of approving, he called for make the government increase the salaries and benefits of judges, members of the bench. He said them for make more expenditure and take care of the judges, but they cannot approve. They cannot talk about the increase, harmonization of salaries for public sector workers, other civil servants like teachers, nurses, doctors. They talk about 30% increase. The 30% increase you take if they pay you 1 million leon or 1,300,000 leons. Now, members of Parliament passed a bill around last year again, around the same time, May, June, for increasing their salaries and benefit.
Welfare.
To the point that they even remove the right of citizens for directly electing the new members of Parliament and decide that election for make you get representation in Parliament should be by the party's appointment. The party now for appoint now. The party now for select their own members of, not the people of Sierra Leone. So they not only destroy democracy, they also remove people and last right, the right to choose your own constituency representatives directly through a direct vote. Now they say proportional, because that's what proportional representation is about. Because at that point, members of Parliament, for example, in the APC, things say them, succeed in the coup for overthrow and seize the party, especially taking over the party secretariat where they will be appointing themselves again to Parliament. So some of these things they get for hunt today again. Don't begin hunt today. You know, see right now this drama that's happening all over regarding the APC's ticket is not unconnected to some of these issues. So basically, if you ask me for what we list, what we go for remember this Parliament for, it too much. But what to the type of saying, we're not going to talk about murder in corruption, murder in human rights violation, murder in destruction of the economy, and we excuse your members of Parliament in the opposition in Parliament who have worked in Parliament in these 4 years and supported every policy and every agreement that this government has made in this last 4 years. Absolutely. If you want to do that, you will just try for whistle vote because everybody has alone. No matter how your party do bad or a party member and party leaders they do bad, you will support them because I party. You say we know that we but we did and about to support their own. Now the only thing will make when I decide say no matter be more talk about them when parliamentary. But that's the reality.
We remember 3 parliament na saloon. The first one was Salbat Maga in Parliament of 1964-65. Where the effect of the war, I can open the second one. Remember now, the Parliament of President Moe change the constitution where allow we follow to multi-party elections. We talk about democracy, and the third one will be this Parliament of President Bio, 2018. These are 3 parliaments because every parliament gets a history where they go do. But this in your lifetime. And would they pray like God make this kind of parliament no ever can salon any longer? These are the worst. Because the laws say we'll talk about not just one law. I make them cut people and make them rape women, them burn houses them. That are the criminal libel acts. Now you can all go to jail because the simplest way for jail person is alone. Say you don't then I didn't the hang person as he talks to them say that it's just libel or then can go people that push we make party happy. But they talk about laws and now we don't care. Even to the when the commotion of parliament and sign law we drive the mayors and the councillors from job. Even Fisher in approval force. After Fisher don't do all the illegal job them, the man was passing it whole APC rounds away. He was not approved by parliament. They're not saying wrong. They actually not say very much wrong. I don't talk and see. Then they do illegality in a legal means. If Fisher did not do all the judgment them. And people they don't sentence people, they don't pull APC executive bonically given the parliament. Now the tenant you're gonna go approve them. See in a judge. We listen to the question we take ask them. During the way they say, now make it left Nigeria. That's why we go for go where them go write that fine report we see we Mamed Tunisi, the protesters and the police them they got them. or to a point where the people became pro gun and cutlass became chap policeman there. That report they when no writer, in no agree for sit on the let the reader as a leader of delegation. And I can remember the what would that independent member of parliament by extension ISLPP anyway. We see the leader of delegation did it, but he moved focal attend to emergency, the emergency avocat approved Fisher as a judge. So let me tell you something, Chebro. Moving forward to all this thing, what in if you say the people left for do, because we still talk about 207,000 people and names we don't delete. When they talk here because the APC not get leadership. Now they don't get leadership. Now we know they expect say we know they even beat because the parliament are a dead horse. That's what they call it a dead horse. No matter what we talk now, what they not do in 4 years, then deliberately this is a deliberately not measure 1 day of corruption. Not to say that the only positive measure I say is opinion. Even when I no go school, also opinion. I will see the thing I had. We not see nothing. You talk. Not to see evidence deeper. The other person we can talk in right now Facebook say even the publication of the African Express against the government not to through a member of parliament in a chairman now in a chairman for a whole district. Then go to chairman for a whole district at Alaba district. When it's a deliberate. Who they talk about the members of parliament, we talk about the entire parliament, but why open the base of argument on APC? Because now then make one a government, now then this government don't like passive man, then they can blackmail at the wall, we say, wait and see the evidence of African Express, then we capitalize on them. Nobody know they say when I go say that true, but investigate all I know, no say Bank of Salon, now America at the bank on a Swiss, they give for pay transfer for go Swiss, for go look am. Now for just waka. Go down from Parliament to Bank of Salona, less than 10 minutes worker. If you if you work like a million at 10 minutes, you can reach it. Then man, boy, the one go to ECOWAS. Jericho go talk and say before he can the meeting ECOWAS, he go check if Salona actually pay the money. So move for let it not talk about the African Express for 5 years. For not only the African Express, the corruption who don't see, including the president. SSF now go talk say we go to Japan. You go meet President Kuma don't trust that they pass with and lock up at the gate. There's enough for that at the hotel, including Lara Telopias as we instead put up for confirm what in African Express for the president in forgery. Not till no act. So we get a lot of to remember, not to today. This parliament had the shock wouldn't give Sierra Leone and then also to know that shock day. Now we don't go wrong, waiting and begin happy. Sometimes government can go say me or go number 2 years and say me or come out. Government can go just pull MP there, pull all the members of parliament and say new one there, courts go put new one there, win if they favor up. This things will get for member, not to today. The effect of this parliament, you get to go ahead, if we not be careful, the worst get for happen past 1991 civil war. Because imagine this parliament sit down, then no say when they pull members of parliament by election for happy, then go take members of parliament by court, put them. We can forget government land if we not be careful, we can pull all members of parliament from speaker, you go take people that state and can go to members of parliament. We can forget a government we can for cancel one day, then take more mayors, them lock them, get for start people that we don't just audit to general. We can forget government we get for you go thief is in people and not thief money. This parliament, but then all it we happy for happy now, it don't happen under this parliament of 2018, President Bill Internal. We will get the leaders in Jericho, Yumkela, and Masilamina. We don't see that in the history of my life. And when this opposition go challenge the international partners, they will help them for fed bad governance. That the first Masilamina. Go na EU. See, let them try because the man they try for expose the illegal system. You see, so this parliament of this 2018, I don't know, they would wait for see because me or no one put the cat before the horse. Now see what in the APC get for do. Wait and sit down. The APC constitution say we not get selection. Then now they sit down, they allow them pass PR system. I want to see how they get for give members of parliament the symbol. If you vote to get for vote, like I vote for constituency, executive or ward, or the party go say you go to MP. I don't do it for C because they know see 80% of them they not get any use to they get that parliament as far as me concerned. If you see through the talk, so they continue for struggle 5 years. They talk national media that because they're not in the fight, they're not help they're not help we rather they in the defense than they in the wall sit behind the fence. Would they do behind the scene? Would they walk behind the scene 5 years, all bad laws and pass. So moving forward, Chairman, what in you feel that you take to people that they get sleep now, who no know it, who that or from angle the 207,000 they come out. What now you take towards that side in connection to the party?
Well, the fact of the matter is that everybody will register, get a slip, get a registration slip. Of course, now possibly get evidence ECSL registrar and ECSL OAM a voter ID card. So if ECSL they talk say people then double register and then get for find out where then get for show the evidence of how people then register twice or more than once. So that are the responsibility of ECSL because then talk say that now biometric registration. One thing with biometric registration for card against now multiple or double registration. So they have not answered that question. But yeah, I think make a no label. Everybody keep you sleep. No surrender you go only give you ECSL you sleep when then they give you your ID card. If I not give you ID card, no return your voter slip because once you get a voter registration slip, you for definitely get a voter ID. So that one day now one way we need for emphasize and educate the people them about and political parties, civil society, and all of we were concerned about free and fair election for make sure say everybody will register. We then properly register. We register, get a registration, proof of registration, for also get the voter ID card before allowing for vote. And ECSL is compulsory on them for provide every registered voter a voter's ID. We will enable them for vote. So now, for example, in the case of the APC, they're not going to say the neighbor act again, or not to that 21-man illegal committee where Fisher be appointed, where one faction say this, other faction say no. Now they have a properly constituted executive at every level of the party, from the ward, from what I understand, to the constituency, to the district, to the region, to the national executive, and even the diaspora executives. They already are a constituted party, which means as a constituted party, they have the mandate and the responsibility for help for whole ECSL accountable on the questions of the elections, for get free and fair, transparent election. You see, that the absence of political leadership in the country with and organizational leadership in the country, that make you see embassies and ambassadors, they also comment on the need for free, fair, and transparent and multi-candidate election, that every candidate will want compete for be able to compete. Now, a competitive democracy is a multi-party democracy. So, Mula and other people will not be commenting on this if opposition leaders like Emerson Lamina been saying a responsibility for request ECSL for conduct the election according to the law. And then for try for pass law for give ECSL the extraordinary unconstitutional power for delete voters then from the voters register. When that happened, international observers and national observers, even if they are not participants in the elections, they will comment on it because in the global arrangement where we get everybody get responsibility for make sure say democracy thrive across the world. Human rights are respected across the world. That make United Nations Day, that make ECOWAS Day, that make EU Day, that make multilateral agencies Day. So to attack Mula because they raise these questions of the disenfranchisement or potential disenfranchisement of voters, now because the political leadership failed. So now what you will expect in a newly constituted executive of the APC, now for carry out an audit, instantly demand the transparent display of the voters register, for ask all of the questions regarding the registration, the so-called deletion of names, and make sure say everybody will register should be given the right to vote. And that right includes their right to a voter's ID, where they should say they don't register, be registered. So we expect that now there should be no excuse. If Cheriko could not be they take action and not be they talk as parliamentary leaders now because there was no executive. And in the general scheme of things, the national executive is over. Is the leading executive organ of the APC. So now you don't go the parliamentary wing of the party responsible anymore. You go for hold the national executive responsible if they don't represent and help protect the rights of the young supporters and the rights of Sierra Leoneans generally for participating in elections. So the party secretariat, the party's national executive, they are the constituent bodies of the party, including all opposition parties. But we talk about this part because NGC, as far as we know, the chairman and the other executive members, they don't run away, they don't left the party. Give other people. So we don't know the status of the party, whether they are going to contest the elections, they are not going to contest. So we don't know who to ask right now about what are they going to do regarding the elections. As far as we know, that they're all lost scatter. Now that's not the last news we'll be hearing. For the C4C, Fisher don't pass law. He said he don't appoint another illegal caretaker executive, just like I've been doing to APC. So we don't know how they have planned for it. But what do we know? That there is one major opposition party whose executive was dismantled, but they don't elect now national officers, regional officers, executive officers at every level of the party. So they will have no excuse for take on these questions of democratization that we've been talking about, including the protection of the right of Sierra Leoneans to vote. So I think that are the question, because for the parliamentary wing of the party, by the end of April, Cherry could go there and order, then they would not lose their position at parliament. They would not be ordinary party members. And I think I don't think they are even they are responsible for decision making as it is right now. So the party get party leader now, the party get national chairman, then get national secretary general, they get deputy chairman, they get a formally constituted executive. And very experienced people too, we don't know the politics at their party and outside of the party for a long time. They know what in election business they're about. Because they've participated in elections as opposition politicians. They've participated in elections as ruling party politicians. They are now participating in election again as opposition politicians. So they know all of these issues. They don't need to be told. They know what has to be done, what should be done, and what must be done. So if they not do them, they have to be held responsible to the letter. The same way will be the whole parliament responsible. It's time to hold the APC's national executive responsible and call on them for stand up for the right of Sierra Leoneans, including their right to vote. Now that now will be the question. So for the parliament, I think we'd already talked about them. They failed to stand up, even when Fisher illegally get in the party, where they overthrow the party, they collaborate with state institutions for overthrow them party leaders. They fail to protect the rights of Sierra Leoneans, the human rights of Sierra Leoneans, including the Sierra Leoneans' right for vote. In fact, they helped Madabi for pass law for suppress people from participating in the election. So the new APC executive has a responsibility to correct all of the bad things that the young parliamentary leaders and parliamentary members and parliamentary leaders do. It's upon them to do that, to correct that. So I would say now that should be the focus. The focus is, what is the APC's new executive going to do regarding the 270,000 people who NEC is saying they are not on the register? What is the APC going to do regarding the questions that Mula has raised regarding the massive numbers of people who turned up in Freetown and other parts of the country to register, who are not reflected in the current statistics? Why they forget more registered members in the southeast, more than the areas where people turned up to vote, because part of them put curfew, like Kenema and Bo and other areas like that for people to register. But in Freetown and across the northwest and the northern region, people, when they come up for register, they don't get a chance for register. Come with them, umbrella them, bench them, cheer them, they sit down all day, 2, 3 days, 4 days. They're fed for me to register. When I remember, what will be the show the video, they will be referred for register. They complain about registration. So now the APC executive will take on those questions. We have to call on them to take on those. If they're not doing, they have to be held responsible. Their feet has to be on the fire until these issues are addressed. That's why they are elected. They should be seen to get to work. They have to get to work. So every Sierra Leonean citizen must call on every organization in the country, civil society, media. They launched them there a voter monitoring campaign, starting with the voter ID card, how to monitor them. And I will still ask them the same thing we've been doing for monitor parliament and monitor registration. We could also focus on for call on people and make them pay attention to collection of their voter ID. Let us set up the same system we've set up. We encourage people for register, encourage people for tawated and register, and also for report difficulties in the registration. We activate the same process. Let us do it. We owe on to people there, we owe on to Sierra Leone. Let us don't give up on that. Along with that, we also going to constantly call on the politicians, political parties, civil society actors who are failing or refusing to take action. Now it go easy for do Because the APC cannot say, now for Peter Conte and Abdul Kabo, because after Peter Conte say this, Abdul Kabo say this, Abdul Kabo say this, Peter Conte. So they are all history now. They're not all history. Then you own that record, then a permanent record. Whenever you talk about APC crisis, Madabio, you got to talk about it. Whenever you talk about Madabio and the bad law, they got to talk about Parliament and Cheriko Code. So that they don't write themselves inside the record. Now whether they support her, they want to recognize that or not. But history, they got to judge them. They don't begin judge them now. So now that me go say,
you know,
the APC executive, yeah.
No, Chano, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. You know, earlier on, Chano, you were making some solid points. And we'll go focus on picking up their voter ID cards and ensuring also the 42% reduction of the population of Freetown, Western Urban, where the mayor point out very, very calculatively. The mayor work out the numbers. And also, the young adults that will turn 18 by June 24 will not register. That is something also we want for call the executive of the APC attention to. Not only for go pick the ID card them, but the fact that there are people that were supposed for register will not register. Those young adults will account for over 500,000 plus because the population is mostly younger people then. And when we see each other, you see where they come, they say go bring the yellow birth certificate. When they come the yellow birth certificate, they say no, not the blue one. You know, we see them, they not register them. So the registration process, it failed in those three areas. One, over 270,000 names deleted from the voter register. Second, they reduced the population of Freetown, Western Urban by 42%. And third, the young adults, they don't register them. So the executive of the APC, I think, say like we say, going to work. Now that day we talk about. But Channel, I want to bring your attention to something where you say earlier. But you don't land on them properly. You expose the three leaders them within Parliament. Where you talk about the APC, you talk about the NGC and the C4C. Let's begin with the NGC party, specifically Kande Yumkela. We saw when the president, then go church na tinhu. We see that then later on we can hear an audio of Kande Yumkela saying, in the ready for work with the president, when this man already gets, just to justify the fact that these guys actually sold, then sell the people of Sierra Leone for their own political agenda, just for their own selfish means. Now, so can the Yunkela betray the people of NGC and Sierra Leoneans as a whole. In the field, see sometimes President Biogo call him for can make a running mate and kick out Jules de Jallo because there was this hope for saying, Mr. President, say, local work together. Can they don't tell you, go come on a political local work together. We don't know what TV they play, but this guy for a year now, so silent. He had no statement on the records, on the PR, the NIN number with them passed, NACRA, the political party acts law with them passed, the election laws them. There is no record for Kande Yumkela for come say, I stand against this. The only thing we do is tweet, he say go call the NEC commissioner and he go call the bank governor. You take like the Emasi Lamina, of course he's been dormant and silent with pictures of the president, first lady, chief minister, minister of education. He's just taking photos, now picture no more, they take picture, C4C, what do we see? Ingo pull the last stunt for attack the EU, Ambassador Mula. This is how they sold this because what I talk to you. So now for people understand how then guy they are sell then sold at the expense of the people of Sierra Leone and at the expense of with democracy and at the expense of posterity, at the expense of with future generations you're unborn. They show bad leadership traits, bad leadership style to young people how not for participate and how not waiting not for do inside with democracy. We left that day. We go to the leader of the opposition, silent for years. Press release no more. Press release come out, yang silent, nothing. Section 86, subsection 2, Guy, the leader of the opposition of the APC in a parliament at the time, the authority and they get authority for someone and ask the speaker, and the speaker shall within 14 days any debate we want for taking a parliament. We point that out for years. We don't point them out. The same leader of the opposition, a come out na salon, then the fet na salon parliament. Nobody know to this day on the record Usai be day where that fet they go on a salon parliament. They say, hey, go ECOWAS. The next bad thing we go here in a ECOWAS parliament. Then they debate members of parliament now the region. They debate for say why they not in here. Then get for the tell them say, well, then video the other one gap you go peace. The other one you Abdul Fatoma of that Chadi. Now in talk on 98.1 say, in see the leader of the opposition of APC they left Friday when the meeting was actually on the Saturday for present the report. You don't know why not present the report. All of these things. This man abdicates in duties as the leader of the opposition. What he do? Because it was the final coffin for proof to Salon people and say, it don't sell to Marabio. Let Marabio continue. Because in the sense this, if you be go defend and go talk about and everything will not happen over the years, the egregious infractions, the killing of voters and protesters, them. When you look at what they do, August 10th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, Brother Chino, not to attend the parliament, we see themselves, when they pass all the bill, when they left now and go vacation, when they kill people, them, that attend and pass all the laws in the parliament. So these are all the things what they say, because we want the people to understand exactly how then guy they are sell the country at the expense of the lives of a beautiful country and the expense of the generations here on board of that country, which would only about the premise of the parliament itself in failures. So, Chero, what do you think about, the PR system being passed by the judiciary? You want to talk on that more? Finally, the judiciary was involved in this chaos. Don't not forget them.
Yeah, we don't. I think so. We don't already highlight all of the, like how you summarize that, so it's a beautiful way. We, no matter how we talk, we will repeat the same points. But yes, we don't see everybody and every institution their role in this entire 4 or 5 years of Madabio. So from Parliament to the police to the Anti-Corruption Commission to the Bank of Sierra Leone, the judiciary, the presidency, and other executive components of the executive branch of government. So we know this is not a new thing again to Salone people. Everybody don't see the collective role of each and every institution and each and every member of these institutions and where they stand on these questions. So I think moving forward, we get an election that's very critical and very crucial. We still get for help people for believe, say the electoral process can provide an answer, and that we try for, because the only thing that we're left now for Sierra Leone as a last resort, as a way for settle the current problem without crisis and conflict. So that make me suggest say it's time we begin to call on the new executive leaders of the APC and other organizations in the country for understand it and get a sacred responsibility for help rescue Sierra Leone's democracy, rescue the soul and the image of the country from where it is, and help for end the many disinformation campaigns where they go around for distract people from the main issues of the day and what has to be done. I got to commend Una for your own dedicated effort, resilience, and the spirit of not giving up and remaining on point, even at the in the middle of all this cacophony of voices and hecklers and noisemakers and insulting brigade that is out there. So you've remained resilient. Let's continue along those lines. That would think me could just say. Absolutely. But you guys have done well, and you continue to do well. And it's a road that has to be, traveled on. We just need to continuously do what we do. Yeah, it's producing. Is require the impact. Make no mistake about that.
Chana, we cannot leave the people and where they support we believe in what we're saying. The Sierra Leoneans, we don't wake up over the years, where they help now for circulate these messages. Then they defend we on social media. We know they see them, we not sabi them, some of them, we don't know them. Those people, talk to them as well.
Yeah, we always don't talk this. What they give you the courage for move, because we know say the army of dispossessed and marginalized Sierra Leoneans, they know the truth. They know and they're resilient and they don't keep we going. The thousands of people with the message we every day pray for we. When our prayers and don't answer, because in the future we're going to talk about the effort we people can do for come after we own lives. And what they do for try for the number of people that we try for set trap them for we for undermine we ourselves. How we prayer then save we. How we some of our own information also valid, credible people who have been alerting us to danger that's coming. All of them. Today, we want to give this overview. In the next thing we will talk about individual cases.
Absolutely.
Of people that we don't cause we, and other people we don't defend we.
Yep.
We get some other examples there for highlight.
Absolutely.
So we just want to thank the Sierra Leonean people for standing by us and also continuously believing in what we put out. And we want to assure when I say we hold ourselves to that sacred duty of providing truth and evidence.
Absolutely.
And the facts as they are supported by evidence and without malice. The facts, me believe, say the evidence speaks on its own terms, no matter how long it takes.
Yeah.
Which we talk all about Parliament, don't happen. From last year to now, in the space of 12 months, everything that we've said, from the election bill to the collaboration between Parliament and Madabio, it don't happen. The three parliamentary leaders then demonstrate exactly the new for themselves, not to we say first then. From NGC to APC to C4C, I don't see them for themselves. We don't need to re-emphasize them. So thanks to everyone. Make we all continue, don't relent. Make you always say there should be no compromise and no surrender. Absolutely. In this effort for fight for the interest of Sierra Leone. And that one day we did do.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Kashi, comrade, any last word?
Well, last word, who said they tell her thank you for this, consistently. Let me tell you something. If I want to be in opposition at ASM, that's what they might will see, you know what? Laws have can join them and this fight for safe Sierra Leone. Because I tell you something, he has been doing very, very well over the years. Each and every government we don't get accountable on corruption, on bad governance, and other things. As you see, when they make progress, Ibrahim and put it, like that they seek me who join the line, said onto the line.
Absolutely.
And I believe, say, by the grace of God, people, it's a fight who they win, now a fight for a long haul.
Yep. Even
America, UK, in the type of still this, in as much as they get a very strong institution, but still the strength they lost them and still they had lost them. We'll look news every day. Imagine them parts of so not to say we now a beginning. Salo is just 62 years from Odonga independence. So we'll get a long way for go. At least let you see many people out there not to be to tell them they pull and ask, hey, we don't want to know what African Express. In matter of fact, space chair on Mosabia, say African Express. You don't want to know what African Express, you don't see. So whatever tool they do is a collective responsibility. Would equally always tell people say, we don't have to share a message, them one of the different ones, we don't have to say, we stand by the truth now, we don't make we need to give up this fight. I like not 3%. Now when I make we need to give up this fight because we know see people and we them believe say through God in power. God they usually follow do the right thing. All this one as a law put forth. Me and an APC man, they paid up member. But I'm not talking as an APC person. I'm talking as a Sierra Leonean because Salon na big pass to all of us. If it's alone better, not for APC or SLPP, now for each and every one of who is alone to this one. Man, 5 years, in a country. Our brothers and sisters from Kuwait, from the other Arab world, they want to go back home. We know they for go. They don't tire. So man like Europe, I want to go back home. We know they. So let me go sacrifice what they day in, day out, day and night. We can point out things that they left to alone and look exactly what they do. Now let me go to shop. You want to go buy. If you go buy food, if they buy food winner for Boku or if they buy food that we be say it get quality. Lord they pick. At least Lord they come from that misinformation. Lord they face the reality. Politicians over the years, they don't believe for life are we take money, can na area can cook. Now the same door so. Then they go cook, buy jamba, buy drugs. Drugs so they get for jail after doing 24, they get for big arrest buy for drugs, for rum. They get for gang you register for loan and loss on a sense system. Lord, I know what I do. Not to the time for dance and sing. These are the time of reflection. I don't talk about like I say, these are the only elections I don't play for zero and reflect the memory. Why I for vote out SLPP? Why I for fight against bad governance? This for be a time of reflection, not a time for they go play music and dance.
Absolutely.
If the dance away in my sweet, this election almost for Sidon over month now, month of the month for Salon. Let them say we're not happy. The only thing we want to see that the willingness of our people willing for is that desperation for say we want for do changes like 207. No, not to enjoyment time this. We will sing and dance by election, but this election, it will be messaging, it will be time for reflect, memory Ibrahim, why we for fight against not just SLPP. People don't try that SLPP they fight. The hit way APC for truth, if you have SLPP the mistake, go that route today. Because that route today don't allow any politician for going for can't link like defense, say I inherit, but we all know the problem that's alone. Anybody know the problem that for can fix up. That make could tell place all man time no if again. Where you go, if you don't get your ID card, announce them. would they forget that information? Would they make sure say we force the leadership of the APC because that the only formidable party right now. Would they force them for make them make sure say people get the right for vote because the only thing is what they get now people get a card for go vote. If not, we are joking, Ibrahim.
Absolutely. Kashi. You unmute your Kashi. Okay. We don't lost Kashi there. All right.
Sorry, sorry, man.
Yeah.
Just left for note. Ibrahim, I think with all waiting Chain Obado reveal, waiting you don't they do over the years, as I say, I mean, like waiting really talk puts the Naluma, let we expose these guys. We've done all these things, Ibrahim. Unfortunately, people cannot see where the problem of Salone actually lie. Ibrahim, people cannot see it, but again, as we always don't say, we get courage, we say, for the fact that, the people not used to these things. And let me tell you, Ibrahim, the first time to everything is always the difficult time. Mm-hmm. And this is what we're trying to do. Absolutely. And I strongly believe, say, one day Salone man get this team, not only after the team don't affect them negatively, now the team then they actually learn the lesson. But they don't want actually wait when you tell them who side the problem they for make them able kind of like take corrective action, they would rather wait until they are affected before they actually kind of like say, oh no, this team really, really bad. Absolutely. And we're getting to that stage. And we don't want to we get to that stage because the mistake of Madabio being hanging to power again, Ibrahim, is very disastrous. Absolutely. Honestly.
Thank you, Kashi. Salon people, I'm not taking nothing from this message. While I want to remember, say this Parliament of the Fifth Republic, the Second Republic, the fifth legislature of the Second Republic, and so forth. Define them. This Parliament we done so we begin 2018, we can done in April. And the worst Parliament we ever get. When I think of all the bad laws they wouldn't pass, the PR laws, the PPRC. The laws they wouldn't change, election laws, NIN number wouldn't use for it, all kind of bad laws wouldn't pass. The cyber security intelligence for monitor on a phone them, get arrest on all of the terrible things them. When I think of them, when I reflect of the 1965 and this one, like our brother the African Express say, and Comrade Koita, don't mention I and Cashbox don't talk. When I think about that, they reflect on the nation as a country. Salon, for can force. Your loyalty should be to Sierra Leone. Section 13B of the Constitution. I hope every Sierra Leonean could memorize them. Let it at the back of the mind. Everything we do, any decision we take, think about Section 13B. We say every citizen shall cultivate a sense of nationalism and patriotism so that your loyalty should lie to the state and not to your section, ethnic, regional, tribal. I mean, in quote, right? We have to understand this. Until we as Sierra Leoneans imbibe that culture, we make delicate today, brother. African Express for over 20-something years. Don't stand on the side of the people of Sierra Leone. Don't stand on the side of the truth. Don't stand on the side of democracy for make sure that democratic principles prevail and eliminate massive corruption. So God in this day, until every Sierra Leonean think that way, we'll not go before us a nation. But like we say, we'll come back to another day. We can discuss with my brother the African Express on some of the personal attacks that he's been getting from people along the line. But we left and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a beautiful day. We'll not forget to go pick on a voter ID card. We'll begin reminding you every day now. Voter ID card. Bye-bye.